Hey, I am Dave, and you're listening to another episode of Dying to Listen podcast presented by the Disc Golf Dyers Guild. Today, we have Don from Donny Dyes in the flesh, in person. So, he is another Wisconsin-based dyer based out of Appleton currently, correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. So, thank you for joining in person.
All right.
Yeah.
A couple guys from Wisconsin. Talk about a couple 2-tree dyes here.
Oh, geez.
All cripes.
So we actually just played around earlier in the day at Sandy Knoll.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to ask the question, do you play disc golf? Because we literally just played disc golf. Okay. Why do you like playing disc golf?
I don't know. I like throwing stuff. I've always liked throwing stuff. I don't know. I've always played sports. Didn't have a competitive outlet when I found disc golf. And yeah, I don't know. I was dating a girl in Green Bay, and we drove by a course one day, and she's like, yeah, my friends play, so we should go with them sometime. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. You know, it was early on, you know, when you're trying to be nice in a relationship and, you know, not throw too much judgment out there. But in my head, I was like, the only people I know that play disc golf are huge stoners. So I was like, that's not really my thing, but, you know, I'll give it a try. And then we got there, and, you know, her friends are like dressed in like athletic gear and, you know, athletic shoes. I showed up in sandals because I'm like, we're throwing frisbees, right? No, it's not the case. And then, you know, I watched them throw, and they're throwing like 300 feet. I'm like, you could do that with a frisbee? So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And I kind of hated it at first because my discs did nothing but go left, and, you know, I was lucky if I went like 100 feet. But yeah, I think after the first time I threw like, I don't know, somewhere 250, 300 and had that perfect full flight, I was kind of hooked after that. I think I vaguely remember playing once in like junior high or something. I think my PE teacher needed a filler activity for a day or two because, like, I think we only did it once. But I think we had actual frisbees, and there was no baskets. We were throwing at like those little orange bendy sticks that you used to like mark driveways. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hated that. That was stupid. But real disc golf is pretty awesome.
That's awesome. So when did you first start really playing disc golf?
I think it was towards the end of summer 2017 when I first played. But then it was like spring of like 2018 where I like really got hooked, and I was just like buying all the discs I could, trying to try all the different ones and figure out which one works best. Little did I know at the time, like, I should have just stuck with my Leopard 3 and my Shark and just try to get really good with those before buying, you know, all the, you know, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 speed discs. But, you know, live and learn.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you learn. Plus, it's not you, it's the discs that make you better, right?
Yeah, of course. It's the arrows, not the archer.
Exactly. So that's awesome that you've been playing for a good amount of time.
Yeah, roughly 5 years, give or take a few months.
Do you have any of your first discs that you bought?
I have my first Ace disc, and that's still in the car, actually. But yeah, I was super lucky. I got a Ace after like 6 months of playing. It's kind of funny to think about now. I threw a 7-speed on like a 200-foot hole that was wide open because I was like, oh yeah, I need this disc to get there. But now, you know, it's like a putter shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the oldest disc I probably have. I kind of just sold everything else and simultaneously kept buying new stuff.
Yes. Speaking of your Ace, where was that?
That was at Adelaide Park in Fond du Lac.
Okay. I don't think I've ever played there.
You're not missing much. Especially now they cut down so many trees. It's even more wide open. And I think one of the holes doesn't even have a tee pad anymore.
Right on. So where are you from?
Originally from Campbellsport, which is in between West Bend and Fond du Lac, north and south. So
okay. What brought you to Appleton?
When my now wife and I got back together about 3 years ago, she was living up there, And so, yeah, I wasn't really happy with where I was at right at the time, and it was time for a change. So moved up there, and haven't looked back. It's a great area.
Yeah, no, I've lived there, I think, for 3 or 4 years. I liked it when I was up there.
Yeah, there's plenty to do.
Yeah.
Plenty of great courses, too.
And speaking of courses, where is your favorite course in your neck of the woods?
My go-to course would have to be probably Ohauser, because there's multiple tee pads, multiple baskets on every hole. It's a public park, but they take a little bit better care of it than most other public parks. So
nice.
It's pretty nice. They're adding another 9-hole beginner course there too. They're revamping a few courses in the area. So it's a pretty exciting time for disc golf.
That's nice. When I was in Appleton, there was a course like north of Appleton. What was that one?
You're talking about Plowman?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're redoing that one too. I don't remember why they had to expand something else nearby the park, so they had to take out some holes, and so they're adding holes somewhere else or something like that. I don't know. I was never a huge fan of that course, so I haven't been there for a while. There's just so many other courses in the area. I don't really need to spend time at the ones that I don't like.
Yeah, there is a lot of courses in Wisconsin. What was that? Rolling Ridge. That's somewhat close to Appleton-ish.
Yeah, it's just over a half hour from me.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So, yeah, that's pretty nice. I like to go there in like August, September, October when it's drier. So much of it's in low-lying area.
Yeah.
I mean, with the spring layout, you're basically playing half the course twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's another one where there's 3 tee pads, 3 baskets on just about every hole.
Yeah.
So you can play it 9 times and never play it the same way.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get up there to play that. It's been a hot minute, but yeah. So while we're here, disc dying.
Oh, yeah, that's what this is about.
Yeah, this ain't a disc golf podcast. There's plenty of those. What got you into disc dying?
It was because, after I started, I met my buddy Bill at one of the tournaments, and I think he was the first one I saw with a dyed disc. So I started asking him questions about it, and I think I had him dye a disc or 2 for me before I went to his house to like see what it was all about. And my first dye was just a simple spin dye. I think it was on like a Renegade. It had like a red, white, and blue stamp. So I put like, red and blue spin on it, leaving space for the white. And that was that go-to disc I told you about that I just lost. I thought I saw where it landed and it just disappeared. I've never had a disc like that since. It was just nice and beat in. But yeah, that's how I started, just like simple spin dyes. And starting out, I did not have the patience for anything much more complicated than that. But, I kept seeing all these really cool dyes that other people were doing. So I think as I went on, I gained more patience to do and try more things. That's where the wife kind of comes in. Like I got her into dyeing a little bit too. And so she doesn't play at all. And so she looks at it, I think, even more from like a artistic standpoint. So she'll do some things that I wouldn't do. That's not to say that it's, bad. But I have a very specific way that I like to dye discs because those are the types of dyes that I would like. But she looks at it more from a artistic standpoint. And she's much better at weeding than I am. And sometimes just better at like color choices and stuff like that too. So she doesn't dye as often, but I'll definitely, ask her like, what color should I use here? And can you weed this for me?
Can you do the boring stuff? No, that's awesome that she does that. Do either you or her have an art background?
I mean, we're both into music. I mean, that's art. But as far as like painting and coloring and stuff like that. She's done some like simple like canvas painting and stuff like that, but I wouldn't really say I've never really been artistic in this sense. Outside of music, I haven't really been drawn to it very often.
So this is art. Why do you like dyeing discs?
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's important for everyone to have some sort of artistic outlet. I feel like it definitely helps with your mental health, sort of. It's also helped me. Disc dyeing has definitely helped me develop a little bit more patience. Early on with the stencils, I remember there was times where I'd get so frustrated when I couldn't get a stencil on right, or get halfway through it and like accidentally ruin the stencil and I have to start over. I get so mad and like slam the disc down or something. But I'm past that point now.
That's good. That's good that disc dyeing has brought you patience and inner peace for the most part.
Yeah, it can be kind of like meditative. Like I won't always even like listen to music or podcasts. Like sometimes I'm just in my basement in silence, weeding a stencil or something like that.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. You just kind of zone in onto whatever it is that you're doing. At least I find it interesting that spin dyeing was your first forte into disc dyeing. I don't think I've ever heard of spin dyeing being someone's first. Usually it's something like a bed or something. So what was your second thing or method that you did after the spin dyeing?
I think after that was actually something like this shaving cream dye here. It's it's a few years old now, so it's faded. But yeah, I think I had I got the eye dye powder, and that was another thing my buddy showed me on one of his discs. Fill up a pie pan, and we didn't do the mound. We just fill up the pie pan, level it off, sprinkle the eye dye powder on there, and then just leave it sit for a day. And I got a little bored with doing just adding colors. I didn't know anything about like vinyl cutters and stuff like that. That was another thing my buddy introduced me to, but I put off getting those for so long because, like I said, I didn't have the patience for stencils. Actually, for a while, I was having him make stencils for me, and then he would mail them to me because by that time, he had moved out of state. So I would just send him some money, and he would mail me stencils. But yeah, I got bored with just adding color, so I found like these stickers at the dollar store. I got a bunch of like star-shaped stickers, and so I put those on the disc to just leave some negative space, and that's how I did this one. I have this other one. This was another early dye, super faded now, but same thing. I just did spin dye to match the stamp sort of, and I had the star stickers around the outside. But
I was going to ask you, how did you get those stars? But those stickers, that's a great idea, honestly.
Yeah, it was cheap and easy.
Yeah. Way
easier than weeding stencils. So actually the stencils my buddy was sending me were the like the watermelon stencils. That was literally all I did for a long time because just spin dye the pink in the middle and spin dye the green on the outside, slap the stencil on there, and then and actually at the time I didn't know any better. I was using like black lotion mix and like putting that on there. I used the quick coat worm dip, and that doesn't get very black. So I was using a ton of dye and still not getting black enough. First few dyes I just after I washed it off would fill in the seeds with like a permanent marker.
It's still technically dyeing it.
Yeah. I mean, they sold pretty well for a while, but I got bored of that after so long. So Still my Instagram profile picture, though. I need a new one.
I was going to say, do you think you have a signature style?
Depends on the point in time when you ask that question. Right now, I've been doing a lot of like stencil dies with either a glue bed or a cell background. Mm-hmm. At first, obviously it was either just spin dies or watermelons. I did so many watermelon dies I can't even count. Probably did over 100 watermelon dies.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I don't know. Right now I'm into like stencil dies with a background. I don't know. I love that. I feel like it just makes the image really pop. So I guess that's kind of my style right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just whatever I'm into at the moment, I guess.
What is your favorite die method if you had to pick a method to do?
Yeah, I really like stencils now because you just have more control.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. I mean, I haven't gotten those good, clean, like chameleon cells. I don't know. My cell beds look more like oil slicks or like a really colorful bubble bath or something. I don't know. They're not very uniform. Kind of jealous of the good, clean cell dies, especially like when they have like a really good transition across the disc, of like a yellow to orange to red or something like that, like all the way across the disc. I think that's really cool, or like the rainbow cell dies, like I think it's like the Michael O'Hearn or the Darrow J dies. Is that?
Yep, he does those.
Yeah, those are the two that really come to mind when I think of that. I haven't really taken the time to develop that. I tried a few times, got frustrated, and just went back to what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to always come over and we can experiment with things, because float trail stuff for me, I'm still new to it. I've only done, I think, literally one bed so far.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think one of my problems is I don't have the right size pan for one thing, so I got to get that. I was using like, what is it? Like a, I don't know, 12 by 10, like cookie sheet or something like that. It was way too big, wasting way too much material.
Yeah, I remember one guest, Surf City, he like used a cookie sheet. I don't know if it was that big. It might have been a little bit smaller. But yeah. And I believe Happy Tree Dies uses paper plates.
Wow.
Yeah. But
I can't imagine doing that.
I mean, whatever works. But yeah, we'll need to experiment and try to figure this shit out.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. I'm down for that.
What methods have you all tried? Yeah.
So you started with spin dies. I've done a few shaving cream dies. Actually, one of the first dies I sold was a lotion dye, but I had no idea what I was doing, and just kind of came up with an idea in my head and went with it. It is not anywhere near the way anybody does lotion dyes at all. I didn't know where to look when I started to find out how to do dyes. I remember watching a few videos of Disc Golf Nerd. He had a couple videos about dyeing out there, but it was pretty basic stuff. He's a good guy, though. I don't know what happened to him. He had a lot of good videos out there, like disc reviews and some dyeing videos, stuff like that. When I first started playing, I actually emailed him a few times just asking him questions about like discs and whatnot, and like what I should be throwing, and he was really good about getting back to me and trying to point me in the right direction. But yeah, I don't know what happened to him. He was putting out YouTube videos and started a podcast there for a while, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared. Kind of like Beefy Dies. I haven't heard anything about or from him, but
yeah,
when I finally got on Instagram with the dye page. I was following him, and then all of a sudden just kind of disappeared.
Well, I hope I don't disappear, or I don't plan on it.
I hope you don't disappear either.
Yes.
But yeah, I started with spin dyes. I did a few shaving cream dyes, lotion dyes. Yeah, my first lotion dye, I had the worm dip in like one of those fine tip metal tip squeeze bottles. I just had plain lotion on a plate, like a ceramic plate. I filled the bottom with lotion, leveled it off, and then just kind of like doodled in the lotion with the straight dye. Usually you see somebody, like they'll fill a frisbee with lotion, and then, you do your design with more lotion mixed with dye, and then, stir it up or do the floral pattern or whatever, lazy wave or something like that. But yeah, no, I just doodled in plain lotion with dye, and yeah, I don't know, put it up for auction. Somebody liked it. So
I kind of want to see a picture of that just to see how that design looked.
Oh, I'd have to do some digging. I mean, I think I posted it on Facebook. Maybe it'll come up on my memories one of these days, and I'll send you a random disc pic.
Just gonna send me a disc pic.
Unsolicited disc pics.
I'm curious, how did the dye react when you dropped it on the lotion?
If I remember right, I think a good chunk of it stayed in the lotion, but I did end up getting some nicely defined, like, squiggly lines of dye on the disc. And then I think, if I remember right, surprisingly, being like one of the first discs I dyed, I was smart enough to at least finish it off with a spin dye to make it look nice and crisp and complete. And yeah, I just put it up for auction on Facebook, and people bid on it. I think I sent it to a guy in Florida.
For your spin dyes, what mixture do you use?
I still have a lot of worm dip or quick coat. I haven't used it too much lately, but that's what I always use for the my watermelon dyes. I just think the colors work really well for that. I mean, they already have a color called watermelon green, so you're pretty set right there.
Makes sense.
And then I think the pink and the red combine really well to make the the center, like the actual fruit of the watermelon. But yeah, I have tried using some denatured alcohol mixtures. I don't like it as much because I'm impatient.
Yes.
So yeah, I have some denatured alcohol. I use it sometimes, but I've started switching some of those mixtures out for just acetone and dye because it goes quicker. Yeah, I don't really run into too many situations where I really need to use the denatured alcohol. Yeah, I don't know. I just got frustrated with having to use so many more coats. I was just like, I just want to get it on, get it done. So,
yeah. You're impatient like me, but like you said, this dyeing has made you zen. Or just eat the disc when you get frustrated.
Yeah.
What are your favorite colors to use?
Yeah, I have a bunch of like the 2-ounce containers from ProChem, but I went and sprung for like some of the 8-ounce containers in the colors that I really like. Those are just, like some of the brightest ones, like your neon lemon zest and Caribbean blue and the neon cerise pink. I really like those three. I use those a lot when I do the Floetrol or cell beds. Those are basically your primary colors, so they go well together. You don't really have to worry about mixing them and turning into like weird browns and greens and grays and all that gross stuff.
Yeah.
I should have seen the first cell bed I tried. I don't know why I forgot. I thought for some reason the colors would not blend so much, but yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of cells, and those first few discs were mostly green and brown. So, yeah, you don't even want to use those discs anymore. I mean, you throw those in a wide open field and you won't be able to find them.
And they're gone.
Yeah.
At least you're trying and learning and experimenting.
Yeah. I've accidentally discovered some pretty cool things. So, oh yeah. So when I finally got a little bit better at the cells, I started putting. I got the squeeze bottles for like condiments, stuff like that. I think they're like 8-ounce bottles. So I started mixing the dye up in there with the Floetrol. And then before I made the bed, I would put like 1 to 3 drops in the squeeze bottle to gently shake that up a little bit, because I found out, I think either by watching a T. Diddy video or one of your podcasts, like if you mix that up too much, you'll get just a ton of tiny cells and they're not very well defined. So yeah, I did that, and then I started putting, I don't know, probably anywhere between like 3 to 5 drops of straight silicone in the bottom of the frisbee too, before I put down like the, your base layer of Floetrol. So yeah, and then I usually just do like lines, straight across the bed. And then I like to do the saran wrap drags. And then I'll just, I don't like to drag it all the way down the bed, because I feel like it just pulls too much color from one end to the other. And then I end up with like a bunch of color at one end, and then the other end is still mostly white. So I like to put the saran wrap on there nice and flat, and then just pull from the top down, I guess. And so what I've noticed is it only pulls the Floetrol like so far after you pull it off. And so like, I'll do, I usually use like 3 colors. So I'll do like 1 line of each color, and with like a little bit of space in between, and it doesn't pull the colors too far, so you don't have them mixing multiple times. So like, that first set of 3 would pretty much stay within itself, maybe mix with the second set a little bit, but then you get that good mixture and like constant like color transition throughout the whole drag. And then I don't know, you end up with some pretty neat colors and a lot of really like bubbly looking cells. I don't know, kind of sometimes when I get it right, really have to try to perfect this, but like I've done a few where you just get like a ton of bubbles. Like, looks like somebody, took their straw and just like, blew in their drink.
Interesting. So I've never heard that you lay a little bit of silicone oil before you put the base Floetrol on.
Yeah, I don't know if it was coincidence or if I saw the video first and then started doing it. But yeah, I think Bobby from T. Diddy does that too. Or at least he did in the one video I watched on the way he does cell beds.
So was that a noticeable difference when he did that?
Yeah, I think I got more cells doing that.
How thick do you have your base layer?
I don't know, it's been a while since I measured it. I usually just kind of pour the Floetrol in until it, fills the whole bottom of the frisbee. And then I think if I remember right, it's either, a quarter or half inch deep in the middle. I have measured it a couple times, and then I just stopped counting. I don't take notes or anything like that. I just like to kind of try to go by feel. maybe I should take notes. You're talking it out now. I feel like I'd be a lot better at things if I had some notes to look at, because I don't remember exactly how I did some of my best cell dies. So,
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to take notes.
Yeah.
So I can get you a notebook if that helps.
I actually do have a notebook in my die area. It never leaves the drawer, though.
Speaking of die area, where do you die your discs?
In the basement.
Okay.
It's an unfinished basement. Mm-hmm. There's 2 rooms. I just use the one in back that's totally been taken over by all the die stuff that have accumulated over the last couple years. Yeah, and there's just enough room where I have like 2 practice baskets set up too. So like sometimes when I'm waiting for a hot dip to take or something, I'll just like putt back and forth. And
that's awesome. Somewhat random question. Do you have a utility sink in your basement?
Yeah, we do, conveniently.
Nice.
The only inconvenient part is I do have to walk all the way across the basement to get to it. But
how big of a house do you have?
I don't know. It's not huge. Actually,
no, I have to walk across my basement.
Well, when you're walking across the basement with, a bed full of Floetrol or a disc that may or may not drip, there's stains all over the basement floor now. We're not getting our security deposit back, but oh well. I had fun making a mess.
Speaking of spills, have you had any fail stories or anything that was notable that like you fucked up on?
Yeah, there's probably a few things other than just the like green and brown discs. Starting out with the heat lamps, I didn't know what type of heat lamp to get, so I ended up getting like this little heat lamp for like reptiles. It was just this little thing, didn't cast a light bigger than like probably like 3 by 3 inches, so it wasn't like big enough to heat up the whole disc or anything like that.
You can use that for minis.
Yeah, it would have been good for minis, but I set that too close to a disc for too long, and kind of partially melted a disc.
Really?
So,
it got that hot?
Yeah.
How close was it?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably inside of 6 inches.
Okay.
So, yeah, too close. So yeah, there was that. I don't know. I spilled a lot, but there's nothing that I would really care about ruining anywhere in the die area with that. So, we just have like cheap folding tables, and there was like a makeshift table left in the basement, like, before I moved in there. It's just like 2 pallets with like an old piece of a countertop on top of it. So yeah, I had a major accident trying to do one of the flip cup dies on that. Got a little too fast and a little too aggressive with the flip.
Fun. And while we're on the topic with Floetrol, have you ever tried chameleon cells?
Yeah, I've attempted it. Never really got it down. I think I had a couple that were okay. Actually, I don't really feel like they were very chameleon, but did have a couple with some like very good defined cells. Actually, so I forget who it was, but listening to one of the Dyers Guild podcasts, I heard about the using the sheet pan and how to get the cells with like a skewer and the silicone and whatnot. So yeah, that sounds like Lilbot if I remember right. So yeah, I tried that, and I had like the cookie sheet pan, which is probably a little bit too big, and I don't know, had moderate success. Wasn't anything to write home about. But then actually told the wife about that, and then she tried it, and she did it better than I did. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't even remember what I did with the disc that I dyed. I don't know, that might have been one of the ones that I just traded in at Play It Again Sports. I was just like, yeah, you want to give me something for this? I don't really feel like selling it and putting my name behind it. So yeah, I've done that a few times now, just try and get rid of the discs that I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I dyed.
Hey kids, you want this dye disc?
Yeah, something like that.
So I want to talk more about your stencils. So I know you got the other guy to make your stencils. What finally pushed you over the edge to actually get a machine?
I don't know. I think I was just tired of waiting. You know, he's a busy guy, and I was also getting a little bit bored with the watermelon dyes. Actually, he did make me some pretty sweet pizza stencils too. I've done quite a few dyes, trying to make it look like a more somewhat realistic but a little bit cartoonish pizza. So that was pretty. I actually sold one to a guy. I think he was in Madison. He said he was a pizza chef, and then I got a random message. It was just a picture of the disc hanging on the wall. So
nice.
That was pretty cool. I always like that. I feel honored when people, you know, appreciate it so much that they just want to hang it on the wall. Because that's not something I do. I like to throw things. So, but I mean, to each their own. I mean, if you just want to hang it on the wall, that's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, just do whatever you want with it.
Yeah,
but it should be thrown. What machine do you have?
I'm pretty sure I got the same one you got right there. Is that the Explorer Air 2 or whatever it is?
So what I have is the Cricut Maker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's a little bit fancier than mine then. Yeah, and I don't know. I got the cheap one. I mean, I think it was on sale too.
Honestly, if you're just cutting vinyl, that is all you need. The reason I got the Maker because the wife and I were going to do some other things with it because it can do a crap ton of other things like cut fabric or whatever. But yeah, what vinyl is your preferred vinyl currently?
It's the Oracle 651. Okay. Tried other brands. I don't know. I tried the brand that Bobby from T Diddy recommended. I didn't really like it.
Do you remember what it was? Because I don't.
Well, actually, the problem was that I bought like a mix pack, so there was all different types in there. There was matte, there was glossy, there was I don't know what it's called, but there was, you know, some that were like really reflective. They looked like aluminum foil almost. Yeah. And they broke like aluminum foil. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, the Oracle 651 is by far the best that I've used.
So do you have a favorite color and or
matte white?
Matte white. Why do you like white? Just curious.
I don't know. It just makes sense to me. I like to do, you know, I do a lot of hot dips. So and I can see when the black is nice and black. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a problem seeing, you know, what needs to be weeded and what doesn't. So, I don't know. I feel like that I have used some black vinyl too. I don't know, that can always be a little bit tricky. I feel like regardless of what color you have, like seeing which parts you need to weed out and you don't at the time. So
well, we agree that we like matte. I like matte black. You like matte white, which you can see the difference on the glossy disc. But I think I mentioned this before. I like the matte black. The black because then I can have the black as a reference to see how black my hot dip is. So if it's not black enough, then I can just make it more black.
I usually just hold it up to the light and see how well I can see through it.
Righto. So the most important question: Do you put the vinyl on top of the disc or the disc on top of the vinyl when you apply it?
Oh, you got to put the vinyl on vinyl with the disc.
Okay, good. I like you. You're my friend.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that, you know, the other way around, that is like putting the toilet paper roll on backwards.
Yeah. I mean, to each his own, but our way's right.
Yeah. That is like the one thing where I would tell Keith Lempo, you're wrong.
How do you center your stencils on your disc?
So I have done the laser pointer thing, but I ordered like one of those cheap laser pointers for cats off of Amazon. And I did not take the time to come up with some sort of rig to hold it steady. There's a bunch of nails in the beams in the basement. So I just found a nail that was over one of my tables and just hung it from there. The problem is I gotta wait like 2 to 5 minutes for it to stop pulling.
Yeah.
So that wasn't very efficient. And I realized I have one of those like bendy desk lamps, you know, it's got like the gooseneck on it. And so I'll just take the disc and I'll mark the center of the disc with a magic marker. And then I take the vinyl. When I do the stencils, I usually make a 10.5-inch circle. And then, you know, center the image in the middle of that. If I can, I'll do the center dot if it works out like that. You know, if that's going to be like right in the middle of a area that's going to be black anyway, I don't have to worry about that. And then if not, I will just measure out and then mark again with like magic marker on the vinyl where the center is. And then I'll just line those two up you know, take the desk lamp and, you know, bend it so that it's facing up, the disc on top of that. So the light's shining through the center of the disc. And then I can very easily see, you know, where the center of the disc is and the center of the vinyl or the image. And then I just kind of like fold it up kind of like a taco a little bit and then line it up and then kind of set it down and kind of let it gently unfold itself. And then, you know, from there, continue the stencil on. I had a really hard time getting the stencils on and, you know, not having any air bubbles and stuff like that at first. And then actually messaged Keith Lempa about that. And he has a very in-depth video. It might even be 2 separate videos on that. So, yeah, I watched most of that. I just kind of like kept clicking forward to get to the parts that I needed to see, but yeah, that was super helpful. But yeah, still don't have as much patience as he does. He goes a bit above and beyond with some things, but I mean, you can't knock the results, that's for sure.
What transfer paper do you use?
Oh, I don't even know what the brand is. It's like some sort of abbreviation or whatever. It's a 50-foot roll that I bought off of Amazon.
So is it masking tape or is it like clear?
It's clear. It's got like red grid lines on it. The brand name I think it's like 3 letters. I want to say it's like YMT or something like that. I don't know. It's cheap and it works. It's like, I think it's like $16 or $17 for a 50-foot roll. Okay. Yeah, I used to use that, but now I use I can show you later, but it's like the paper, more of the paper rather than the plastic, and I find that has the perfect tackiness to get it off the backing paper, but not stick so much. Okay. Have you ever had any issues with the stuff that you've used? Not recently, and well, actually, no, yeah, I have. I think I've just gotten better at putting it on, and I think it's kind of dependent on the plastic, it seems. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really like to work well with like the champion type plastic. Remember right? I don't know. I do a lot of like the star or like gold line or fusion type plastic.
So to get your black on your stencils, how do you do that? What do you do?
I like to do hot dips. So yeah, this was another thing my wife kind of pushed me into, is like doing the hot dips, because I was either using lotion or trying to like paint things in, but at the time I didn't know about like denatured alcohol versus acetone, so I ruined a lot of discs and stencils from doing that, or I could just never get the colors as dark as I wanted to into the lotion dyes. So yeah, she got us one of those electric skillets. Yeah, I don't even really measure out the ratios or anything. Just put some water in there enough so that the disc floats, and then I just keep adding dye until it gets black enough.
What color? What dye specifically?
You use the ProCam Onyx and Dark Dungeon.
Okay.
And mostly Onyx, and just add a little bit of Dark Dungeon to kind of like push it over that edge, because the Onyx is supposed to be black, but you got to use a lot of dye before it actually turns black.
Yeah. Roughly how long do you let a, say, star type plastic sit in hot dip? Or what is your even process for hot dipping if you have one?
Well, once I get the stencil on, I'll turn the skillet on, let the dye heat up, then stir it up a little bit, because the dye always separates and kind of sticks to the bottom. And then I usually heat the disc up one way or another. I started out using a blow dryer all the time. Now I kind of like leaving it sit under the heat lamp for about 5 to 10 minutes. Oh yeah, another thing I borrowed from Lempa is his method for getting the stencils on really well with the hot water. So yeah, that's what I did for a mandala here, and that worked really well. I was really afraid of any bleeds on that one, because it's clear disc, so you're get
on both sides.
Yeah, none of those colors are going to cover that up too well, and it has a smaller stamp on there, but the hot stamp left a good amount of etching in the disc. So yeah, that takes a little bit longer, but I mean, the results are worth it. So but yeah, that's probably the best but most involved method, I think, for getting the stencil to adhere really well. And then I think heat lamp's probably next best option. And then third is using the blow dryer, like just heat the disc up a little bit until it just feels warm to the touch, and I'll just take it upside down and then just like press it down on the table, or sometimes I'll put some paper towel down on the table and press on that, so it's a softer surface, so I don't risk damaging the stencil as much. Then, I'll leave it in the hot dip for like 10 minutes, and then check it. If it's not dark enough after that, I'll do another 5 to 5 minutes, depending on what I think it needs. So
have you ever had any issues with like little tiny bubbles?
Yeah, I did. I had a flatter disc, and it was kind of like almost concave towards the middle. It was nothing like a berg or anything like that. But yeah, there was just part of a stencil I was trying to do where there's like this little 1/4 inch section that would not get any dye on it. Just every time I put it down, it that little tiny spot stayed above the dye mixture. So I don't know, it was getting late, so I ended up just putting some some lotion on it and then leaving it sit for probably 24 hours, and that was fine. I did the same thing I do hot dip dye mixture for the lotion, just to get it nice and black, and just mix the onyx with the dark dungeon, and yeah, that actually works pretty well. It wasn't until I discovered those two colors where I actually got a really good black lotion dye mixture.
Nice. But using the heat lamp to heat up your disc for the hot dip and the stencil, I guess I never thought about doing that before, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's kind of the same, principle as putting it on the hot water.
Yeah.
Not be as good because, well, it heats up the whole surface evenly, but you have the rest of the vinyl, that's wrapped around the back that the disc is sitting on. So I suppose that doesn't give quite as much. So probably not, as good as the hot water method, but I've done it at least a few times now, and it works really well.
The only method that I have tried is a heat gun to seal up the vinyl so there's no bleeds, but I like the heat lamp idea because it technically should heat everything more evenly than a heat gun. But I think like the order of operations would be heat gun, heat lamp, then the water is like probably the best.
Yeah.
I like the water method idea because then you don't have the potential to have any air bubbles, like the tiny crevices because of the surface tension of the water. Because the residue water that you boiled with still might be in there and it won't again the surface tension. So enough science. What do you use to color in your stencil?
Mostly kind of do like a lotion painting for that. Again, I'll have like the little like 4-ounce bottles with like the syringe type tips on them, the metal tips. Yeah, I don't know, I order those off of Amazon. It's like $5 for 6 of them or something, and they come with like little funnels too. But I don't know, I found it's actually easier for me at least to like just mix up the lotion dye in like bigger bottles and just squeeze it into the smaller ones. I tried messing around with the funnels and stuff, but it was just too tedious and too messy. So now I just have like half a table taken up by all my different bottles. I don't like to mix different colors to try to get the color I want. I would rather just buy that color of dye and just have the color I want, because I'm not good at that. I mean, maybe I should look at the color theory video on the website, but
yes. I think everybody should look at the color theory. We have a course on color theory specific to disc dyeing, and it's very useful because that's the main thing of disc dyeing is color. So if you want to know how to do that and not get brown, good thing to know.
Yeah, it might save you a lot of money in sort of quote unquote ruined discs.
Yeah. So how long do you let the lotion sit on a disc? And or do you use heat?
If I don't use heat, I'll leave it sit for about 24 hours. With this mandala disc here, with being so clear, I think I let each color sit for probably about 36 to 48 hours. And actually after each time I took or washed the color off, it wasn't dark enough the first time, so I did go over it again and then use heat. Usually I found that I can if I'm using heat, I can leave it sit under the heat lamp for about half hour, and it usually gets it dark enough. And if I want like a really light shade, I'll do less time. So
few questions. What specific lotion do you use, and have you ever had it dry out when it was on the disc? Do you do anything to mitigate the lotion dry out?
Yeah, so I use the Queen Helen's, I think it is. The real cheap stuff, bottom shelf stuff at Walmart. But actually, I do have a couple bottles of, I think it's Suave lotion too. Slightly more expensive, spent very much, like maybe $1. But yeah, I use that when I want a thicker mixture. But for the most part, the Queen Helen's is the most efficient. Oh yeah, so I did have problems with the lotion drying out, but luckily, I know a guy who does a podcast about disc golf dyeing, and if you listen to it, you learn some things, and that's where I learned about putting the frisbee over the top of the disc when the lotion's sitting on it, and then it doesn't dry out, and then you get a nice even color when you wash it off the next day. Like the outsides aren't always light, because the outside's always the first part to dry out, and then you got the circle, and then like all the edges are light, and then it's all dark in the middle, and then I don't know, then once that happens, it's can be tricky sometimes to fix that with just using the lotion method. I have gone over some discs like that and just tried to like paint them in afterwards with paintbrushes, and that works. But I also have a hard time hiding brush strokes.
I was gonna say, have you ever painted on a disc like you would with a spin dyeing? Yeah, sounds like you have. Yeah. So before I discovered the lotion painting with the fine tip bottles, like I would always paint things in when I wanted to do something like that, but that can take a long time depending on what you're painting in, and as we already discussed, I'm not always the most patient person, but luckily I improved that method, so I don't have to worry about that, because I have spent at least a couple hours just painting on one disc, and discing is not gonna make you a whole lot of money, but it is a fun hobby. Not the greatest of margins for, depending on, especially if you do stencils. The time that you put in to do stencils, color it in, that's a lot of time and effort, and you basically get paid way less than minimum wage.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's rewarding just seeing what you create in the end, and at the same time, I don't really like sort of making it feel like a job, so I don't really account for my own time when it comes to dyeing discs, because then it would make it like a job, and right now it's a fun hobby that kind of pays for itself.
It's probably the best way to think about disc dyeing is make it a hobby, and it can sustain itself. And maybe a little cash, depending on whatever. But it's the satisfaction of seeing other people love your artwork. Yeah,
it is.
What is your favorite dyeing accessory?
It's kind of lame, but I guess I'd have to say the vinyl cutter, because I like stencils, because I can basically put whatever image I want on a disc. Actually, especially since I discovered the washi sheet setting on the Cricut, because I don't know how many times I would find an image and cut a stencil before that, and then the Cricut would just murder the vinyl, and there'd be all these random pieces all over the place, and stuck to the blade on the Cricut itself, and like you're looking at it, thinking like, okay, which one of these ones, which one of which of these pieces do I actually have to replace, and which ones are just going to be black anyway, and it was just such a hassle. I didn't even realize there were different settings.
Mhm.
I mean, at least in the software itself, like it has a little dial where you can like adjust it on the thing, but you still have to like click on other things in the computer, and I didn't even know that existed because the Cricut software is not the most intuitive.
Yeah, not really, no. What was the most detailed stencil that you've done so far?
I mean, it's got to be the mandalas.
Okay. Yeah.
Done a few of them. I really like them. Really like fun, but I got to do them when I have the right amount of ambition.
Yes. I can see those little dots being a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah. That's... I don't even know how much time I spent weeding this one. I didn't even... My wife weeded the first two that we did because I didn't even really want to touch it. But I wanted to do this one on this disc with this specific design. So I was like, I'm going to have to do this at some point. So I just, sucked it up and did this one. But I don't know. I probably never would have done a mandala in the first place if it wasn't for her being willing to weed them. So
nice.
Yeah.
Do you just find the designs or do you make them yourselves?
We found the design. It's gotten a lot of stuff off of Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think I have like a whole folder devoted to just mandalas and like over 100 different images.
Nice. Yeah, no, I really like that design too, and I've wanted to actually try to make my own with the Procreate software and iPad. It's fairly simple because it can mirror to however many points, angles, or whatever things that you want. So, yeah, nice.
Yeah, I have no experience with like image editing or Photoshop or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for what you're doing, that's pretty good.
Thanks.
What do you foresee doing in your future? If you anything that you want to try, do, or learn coming up?
Maybe someday getting better at the chameleon cells. I mean, definitely improve on like glue bed dyes too. That's not something I do too often. I do like using the agate style glue bed dye for backgrounds. So yeah, I've done several of those lately. And like I said, right now I just really like doing like the stencil images with the backgrounds because them look really cool and they really make the images pop. But I've accidentally done a couple really cool glue bed dyes. Overall, I wouldn't really consider myself very good at them. So I would like to get better at those. Chris Tanis is amazing at the glue bed dyes. Oh, yeah, I showed you that one disc I, sort of ruined trying to do the lollipop spin. So I would like to get better at that. I've done a few that turned out okay, but they're like 10-footers. If you have them any closer to you than that, you can see all of the mistakes. All of the times where I didn't I forgot to like dab off the brush or anything like that. So it's got like the splotches and streaks and whatnot. But yeah, so I had to keep one of those discs, and I still get compliments on it when I throw it. But I mean,
it's like, look from over here.
Yeah, that's because it's several feet away, and the person complimenting me is not holding it in their hand.
Yeah, well, that's a difficult method to do.
Yeah,
just takes a lot of practice.
Yeah,
and even the clear glue, getting a good pattern, and learning what colors do what when you drop them in the bed, because not all the colors do the same thing. Some spread out more, some don't.
I think teal is really hard to control.
Yeah,
I've used teal I remember, at least in Floetrol, I don't remember if I used it in glue, but the Prochem teal blue, I don't think it really behaves like the eyes. Like it kind of just like goes wherever it wants and, just kind of takes over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I really like that color. So I got to be very careful when I use that. I usually either mix a little bit of it with like Caribbean blue or I use sparingly when I do use it.
Yeah. The thing that I've been trying to do recently with my clear glue beds is to do those swirls like Nowski dyes. Even Emily, or Just Dyed by Emily, does that. One thing that I want to try is to thin out my glue so it's a little bit more watery.
Okay.
So the dye moves a little bit easier, because I know that's what Nowski does. Because I've been using clear Elmer's glue, so I don't know what type of glue you've been trying to use.
For the most part, I stick to the like Michael's store brand glue because it's a little bit cheaper. I think last time I was at the store, like the Elmer's glue was like over $20 a gallon.
Yeah, I remember looking. It was like 21 or 22. Like, stop getting more expensive. Yeah.
Even the Michael's brand is like just under 20 now. So I was like, dang, I remember, buying it for like, $10 or $11 a gallon. So yeah, it would be nice to get a little bit more mileage out of the glue. Because I think it was Daddy Mac Dyes who said he doesn't like reusing the glue, or somebody did, I don't know, on one of the podcasts. I don't like reusing glue either because you can't really see what the colors look like when you're putting them down. So I just find it really hard to kind of gauge what I'm going to get out of that dye. So I don't really like reusing the glue beds unless the only times I have done it is where we do a glue bed dye and then I wanted another one with like similar colors right afterwards, and just add some more color and just kind of mess around with it until I like it, and then I drop the disc in. Yeah.
I don't do enough discs to really reuse the glue, so I barely go through any glue because I barely dye any discs anymore.
Yeah, I also stole your method for getting rid of the glue. So I just put some saran wrap in another frisbee and dump it in that, wrap it up, and throw it out. Because otherwise, I was putting it in a bucket and waiting for it to dry. That takes forever.
Yeah.
I have just dried out a few glue beds completely under a heat lamp and then just peel it out and throw it in.
Yeah, it's
kind of fun. I like peeling the dried glue out.
When it's like super thick, or like the forbidden fruit roll up.
Yeah, and then you get a little bit on your hands. You can't get it off.
Yeah. So I use press and seal, and I forgot who I got that idea from. I think it was from actually Nowski. But yeah, that was a great idea. Easy cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've also learned it's not worth buying the cheap saran wrap. Because I bought some cheap stuff and I could never get it to tear off cleanly. And it was always like pulling and twisting. And then I'd be like trying to hold it and like unravel it so I could actually use it. And there's several times I ended up just balling it up and throwing it away and trying again. So yeah, spend the extra $1 on, decent saran wrap would be my advice.
So you use saran wrap to line the beds? Or do you use press and seal? Are you talking about
just for when I'm like throwing out old glue? I don't use it to line the beds like you do.
Oh, okay.
I just drop the glue or Floetrol and straight into frisbee.
I like easy cleanup.
It is nice. It is helpful.
So, what is the easiest part of disc dyeing, and what is the hardest part in your mind?
I don't know. I don't really have a hard time, like making a Floetrol or glue bed for what I use them for right now. But if I wanted to get better at those things, that could be more difficult. But, for my purposes, I don't really have a hard time at all, make bed, glue bed or Floetrol bed for a background anymore. So yeah, no, I guess that's easy. I don't know, a lot of things have gotten easier, so it's really hard to say what's the easiest thing about it right now. Hardest thing, I mean, sometimes it's hard to just either find an image you want to use or pick an image, because there's endless options out there. But that's kind of what I like about doing stencils. So yeah, I don't know, that might be the hardest.
Was the hardest part trying to answer that question?
Yeah. I don't really feel like I have a great answer for either part of that question.
That's perfectly fine. What inspires you to dye discs, and what keeps you going?
Well, I mean, it's just an artistic outlet for one thing. So while I do get frustrated from time to time, it is also relaxing. Sometimes just be in the basement, listening to music or podcasts, or sometimes I just kind of want to shut my brain off and only focus on weeding out this stencil, or filling in this section blue, or something like that. Yeah, I'm making cool stuff. I've done a few dyes lately that I think turned out really cool. Done some Pokemon dyes with the background, like Charizard with the fire background, or the Bowser dye that looks like lava in the background, and stuff like that. And really intricate stuff like the mandalas, while it's kind of a hassle to do, when you see the end result, that's pretty rewarding. I like it when I send somebody a disc and they're so excited that they send me a message when they get it. And yeah, I mean, I had a guy ask me to send some extra business cards so that he could hand them out to his buddies when he got his disc. So
nice.
Yeah, stuff like that's pretty rewarding. You get a random message of a disc hanging on somebody's wall. Yeah, I did a whole series of Alice in Wonderland discs for somebody else, because he said he liked buying discs, and his wife is into Alice in Wonderland, so now their home office is decorated with a bunch of Alice in Wonderland discs hanging on the wall.
That's awesome.
So yeah, they're not just discs, it's also home decor.
Yes, it can be. Do you have any notable commissions that you've done?
Yeah, I don't know, I think some of them come with at least some mildly interesting stories. I don't know, I found one interesting because I think I can't even remember, this guy won one of my auctions, and then he messaged me about doing a couple other dyes. I think I did a little Scooby-Doo dyes for him, and he lost a disc, threw it in the water, so he ordered another one from me, so I did that. And then his buddy messaged me, he's like, yeah, you just did this disc for my free, it's pretty awesome, wondering if you could do a disc with this specific design on it. And I was thinking he wanted a disc for himself. It turns out no, he was just buying another disc for the same guy. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, apparently you're an awesome friend. But I don't know. I thought that was a little crazy that, guy already, bought 3 discs from me, like probably within about like a month's time. And then his buddy just thought it would be cool to order him another one. So
boy, he really must lose those or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I can't complain.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. If you had to start disc dyeing right now, is there anything that you'd do differently knowing what you know now?
Well, I mean, I definitely would have got a vinyl cutter sooner. Would have started, doing hot dips sooner. I mean, I would probably, I wish I would have known more about like, sort of like the color theory type stuff sooner. Yeah, there's probably other things, but definitely those 3 things that would have saved me a lot of time and frustration.
If you were to give any imparting wisdom to either beginner disc dyers or really anybody, what would it be?
Probably don't underestimate the importance of washing your discs. Whether that's, definitely before you start dyeing it, but, even like in between steps, help with, some colors, bleeding into others and whatnot. Because I have done some where, I do the hot dip for the outline and then the lotion painting. I feel like when you don't wash the disc enough after you do the hot dip, then you get a little bit of the black bleeding into the surrounding colors, or distorting the surrounding colors.
And speaking of that, how, like, after you hot dip, what is your process for washing it or cleaning it?
Cold water. That was one thing I didn't know starting out either, because the hot water can, kind of cause the dye to bleed out a little bit more too. So just cold water and, Dawn dish soap.
What do you use to wipe it down with?
Got a couple towels next to the sink in the basement. If I need to keep any of the vinyl on the disc after the hot dip, then obviously just very gently pat it down. Or I've even dried a disc off with like the blow dryer from time to time, but mostly just kind of very gently pat it down.
Yeah, typically after I do my hot dip, I take rubbing alcohol and either a cotton swab or some paper and wipe it down. But if there's like really fine detail or sharp detail, like the cotton swab gets stuck to the edges of the vinyl but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how helpful it would be, like, letting the disc cool after taking the vinyl off, starting out either. Because, sometimes the residue can be a pain to wash off. I've had a few dyes where I've spent more time trying to clean it off than I did trying to dye it.
Yeah, I find it interesting. There's a few train of thought of either taking the vinyl off when it's hot or cold. Some people like to take it off when it's hot, and some people like to take it off when it's cold. I'm the proponent of, after you hot dip it, just let it cool down. And as long as it's like room temperature, it's fine. I know people like make it colder to help, but the room temperature, I've never really had issues with residue. It's like I've only had issues where I hot dipped and it was still warm and I took it off and I had a lot of residue.
Yeah, I think the worst plastic for residue is probably like an Innova Glow Champion plastic or something like that. For some reason, it just wants to hang on to like all the vinyl, and just spend forever washing it off.
So when you do have residue, how do you get it off?
Washing it several times, like soap and water. I like to do that a few times, to make sure I get any excess dye off. Mm-hmm. And then I do use Goo Gone sometimes, but I have caused some dye bleeds by spraying that directly on a disc. So I usually just put some on my hand and then rub it on the disc. And I'm still scared to leave it on there for too long. So usually I will end up doing that a few times, and then then you gotta wash it off some more, because the Goo Gone kind of makes the disc nice and oily. So you gotta hit it with some more soap. But
yeah, so what I've done is after dip, I make sure I clean it as best as I can, so all the dye is off, and I let it rest. But if there is any residue on, I apply Goo Gone pretty liberally, and I let it sit for like maybe 2-3 minutes, because I found once it sits, it kind of breaks down the adhesive, and it comes off really easy. Like if you try to do it right away, you're like really scrubbing and it's not coming off. But if you let it sit and marinate, the adhesive comes easier.
Yeah, I'm just a little afraid to do that sometimes, because like I said, I obviously I didn't have the disc washed off well enough in the first place. But
I've had that issue too, where I didn't like clean it good enough and the black kind of smudged everywhere.
Yeah. But yeah, ironically, I just did an MVP glow disc, and I didn't have any issues with residue.
Well, it's because MVP is the best.
Well, the Neutron might be my favorite plastic to dye now. I've done several of those lately. For some reason, there seems to be more MVP fans now.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't put my finger on the finger.
Yeah.
But I like the MVP Neutron, and then the new gold ice or fusion ice, like the new trilogy star-like plastic. I think that is really good.
Never dyed that yet.
Yeah, those two probably my favorites. Innova Star Plastic is really good too, and a lot of times I feel like that's it's easy to find Innova White Star discs, so I do a lot of those, and more people throw destroyers than should, so they sell really well. So I usually don't hesitate to buy white destroyers when I can. So I've been doing a lot of those. But another thing I learned from Lempa is if you get a star plastic disc and you see a lot of swirling in it, that might cause some issues, because I've had discs like that the plastic kind of peels after taking the vinyl off, like once it's in a hot dip or something, then it's almost like like peeling a tab off or something, like a thin layer of the plastic comes off, and then you end up with this weird rough spot on your disc. And I've had discs like that too, where they don't take dye, and there'll be like this one spot that won't take dye, and it's not like the issues you sometimes have with the release agent, where there's like a lot of like oil in the disc yet, doesn't take dye in certain spots. It just looks different. So I don't know, just a little piece of advice for people out there that might not be, I don't know, just be a little wary of like the star plastic. If you see a lot swirling in it, it might cause issues. I haven't had it happen too often, but I've had a few star discs where they kind of, feel or they won't take dye in a certain spot for some reason.
That's interesting about the swirl thing. I never heard about that. But I did have a small part of a star plastic delaminate. Like you said.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I was like,
that's what you call that.
Yeah. So I was like, I didn't know I could do that. Now I know. Don't do that. Sweet.
I don't know if I ever heard anybody talk about this before. I probably have. I just don't remember. Because actually, my buddy Bill that got me into dyeing in the first place, he told me about this. Sometimes when he did spin dyes, and I, adopted this too. He would use like cosmetic sponges and use those for spin dyes because they don't really, it's a way to avoid brush. So instead of using brushes, he would use the cosmetic sponges, and they come in like wedge shapes, and they're probably half an inch wide, and I just cut them in half, or you could probably cut them in thirds, but yeah, I like using those. That's what I used, starting out doing all those watermelon dyes. Found it really easy to avoid, leaving lines and stuff like that. Yeah, sort of accidentally discovered too, like with the watermelon dye specifically, if you do the spin dyeing first and you push the vinyl on there and, wrap it all the way over the edge. The first stencils I got, they were, they only covered the center of the disc, so that didn't really work. But if you, cut it so that it's big enough to wrap all the way around the edge, you do the spin dye first, and then, you do your hot dip or however you want to get the black seeds on there afterwards, and then when you pull that vinyl off, it pulls a little bit of the dye off. It gives you that more realistic look in the rind part of the watermelon dye. So that's how I accidentally got some pretty cool, like realistic looking watermelon dyes.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Using what people would consider a problem to make something good. That's awesome. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it kind of works for the pizza dyes too, because if you look at a pizza crust, it's not perfectly uniform brown all the way around the outside. It'll be shades of brown. So
nice. I don't think I've ever heard anybody use cosmetic sponges for spin dyes. Have you tried Q-tips and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. I use a lot of Q-tips. I've used brushes too. But like I said, I've always kind of had a hard time like avoiding getting the brush lines. And yeah, I know one of the best ways to avoid lines is just go slower, but I
want it now.
Yeah. I want it done yesterday.
With those sponges, do you use varying pressures to get different thicknesses?
Yeah, mostly that's, it's kind of harder to control. So I would, preferably I would just cut the sponge thinner or thicker. But yeah, I have, just kind of like, squeeze the sponge as I'm, spin dye to, change the thickness. Or it's kind of nice too, like the obviously the whole thing's very absorbent. So once you dip it in the dye, like it pulls all the way up the sponge. So it's kind of nice because you don't have to then, like a brush, you can put a little bit on, then to redip it and then dab it so you don't get the splotches. But with the sponge, you can just kind of squeeze it, push some of the dye back down towards the end, and then just keep going.
So the sponges, they're probably about like that wide, give or take?
Yeah, I think their standard is like probably about half an inch wide, but then I usually cut them all in half. Like I almost never done a die that thick. I mean, except for maybe this disc. That's probably what I used here because that was, just what I was doing at that point in time.
Yeah, that seems like a good way to apply to a lot of dye fast, is taking that whole thing and just go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very and yeah, like I said, I mostly use either acetone or the coat worm dip, which has some acetone in it. I think it's probably just a little bit more diluted because it doesn't really have very much of that acetone smell to it.
Yeah. Kind of answers my next question, but does the mixture dissolve the sponge?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, maybe if you used one sponge for a long time, I would assume it would, but I don't always reuse the sponge, but I have used sponges for several discs before, and I haven't really noticed that. The only thing is like, if you don't, I've never rinsed them out, but I mean, maybe if you rinse them out afterwards, they would last longer. But after a few discs and sitting around for a while, they kind of a little hard and crusty. So just throw them away and grab more, because I don't even remember how much they cost, because a long time ago I just ordered like a giant bag of them off of Amazon, and then like I said, I'm cutting them all in halves, if not thirds. So I haven't bought any more sponges for like a couple of years.
Right on. Yeah. That's another cool tip that I never thought that to use for spin dyes is those wedge sponges. They're wedge sponges, right?
Yeah, they're like cosmetic wedges, or whatever I think that's what they're called.
So I'll be in the grocery store line or something like that and buying all this material. It's like, what are you doing with that?
You do sometimes look a little peculiar when you go shopping for dye supplies.
Especially if you have like a bunch of lotion and paper towels. Honestly, it's not what it looks like. Yeah, no, I have gone to Walmart and, bought, filled, cart up with lotion and paper towels and Q-tips and acetone. And yeah, it does look a little odd, but, gotta do what you gotta do. Yes. All right. Well, I've learned a lot on the dye portion. We're going to get to know you on a personal level now. So the first segment that I have is favorite fave. What is your favorite band or song?
I like a lot of bands. I was in a band for a while. But one of the bands we covered a lot was Foo Fighters. So if I had to pick a favorite band, I would have to go with Foo Fighters. I've even done a few Foo Fighters dyes, and I'm always tempted to keep one for myself, but to this day I've sold them all. I still want to do one for myself, but...
So the next question I have is, what are your hobbies besides disc golf and disc dyeing? I know you said you played in a band. What did you play? Well,
I mostly played drums because, that's always been kind of my main thing, I guess. I played percussion through junior high and high school. And then, when I was in college at one point, I was living in a building, couldn't play drums. I didn't really have that, artistic outlet. So yeah, I really feel like having that in some capacity is kind of important for, well, at least my mental health. I think it could help everybody though. So, then I started to play guitar because I was in an apartment, and can't really get away with playing an acoustic drum kit in an apartment building.
Not really.
And I didn't want to buy an electric kit. I've never really liked them. I have played some nice ones that are pretty good.
Yeah, they're usually really expensive.
Oh yeah. So I picked up guitar for a while, and then, then shortly after that, or or maybe that time I met my buddy Brandon, and then him and cousin Robbie, we started a band, and that was 3 solid years of fun. Played several shows. We covered a lot of Foo Fighters, and then I would play guitar for, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 songs. I think I only sang like 4 or 5 of those, and then the other 2 songs, me and Brandon, we would switch, playing drums and guitar, and he would sing and play drums, and I would just be up there, trying to play guitar. I wasn't very good at it, but I could do like power chords and whatnot. Wrote some simple songs, but it was fun.
That's awesome. Well, you play more instruments than I do, and I commend you for playing drums, because I do not have the hand-eye coordination to move all my phalanges in synchronization. That's difficult.
I find that strange. I feel like if you can play guitar or bass, like you could play drums, but
I mean, I can very basic stuff, but yeah, again, it's just not my cup of tea. Guitar's like, no, like.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you have the fine motor control, you should have like the gross motor control, but
the gross motor control.
Gross.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess, they are 2 totally different animals. I mean,
animals.
Yeah. Struggle, kind of in the opposite way. Yeah. I'm not very, not as dexterous with my fingers, I guess.
And drumming is a workout.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you can't really be out of shape to play the drums.
No. I feel like I would definitely get out of breath, pretty quickly, depending on the song, this tempo right now. Not exactly in the greatest shape I've shaped in, but
nice. Not nice, but yeah, that's bad.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, I guess that was that's my other hobby or passion. Actually went to school for exercise science. So
really,
for a while, I was working at a gym, doing mostly group classes, but I did some personal training and stuff like that. Got a few certifications over the time. But yeah, so when I was working in West Bend, I worked at a gym, full time, did that for a couple years, but got kind of burnt out. Wasn't the biggest fan of the way the business was run, and then you couple that with the schedule, teaching classes at 5 a.m. in the morning, and then teaching more classes at 5 and 6 p.m. and then you gotta hurry up, go home, and get to sleep so you can get back up and get to the gym at 5 a.m. the next morning. Yeah, it was kind of a weird life, working a half day and then having a giant gap in the middle of the day and then working another half day.
Yeah, those weird hours are definitely interesting. So what do you do for work now?
Right now, I work for a company that distributes auto accessories. So kind of do, a little bit of a lot of things in that job. I'll be in the warehouse one day, and then on the next day I might be driving pretty much anywhere in the state. We deliver like pretty much anything above like the Milwaukee line, up to the UP, and then into like central Wisconsin, and right now, everything else is kind of covered by somebody else, but
So when you do go on these trips, do you take a side trip to any disc golf courses?
Oh, it's so tempting.
I mean, if you don't want to indulge on the show, that's fine. You can tell me afterwards.
Oh no, unfortunately, I don't really have the time to do that, you know, because we drive so far and, you know, make a certain amount of stops. And, you know, for the courses I would want to stop to play are, you know, half-hour lunch breaks, not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose I could stop and play a few holes, but, you know, how can you go to a course like, you know, Silver Creek and Manitowoc and play like 6 holes and then leave? Like, I don't know if I could do that. Or, you know, my favorite course in the state probably is Standing Rocks up near Stevens Point. If you've ever been there?
Yes, recently just played that course, I believe.
Oh, yeah. You know, just there's so many holes, and it's just a variety of shot shapes. So, yeah, I think a lot of fun. That'd probably be my favorite. Silver Creek's probably maybe second. I don't know. Sandy Knoll's up there too. There's a lot of good courses.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Have you been up to Sandy Point?
I have not yet, but I want to.
Yeah, that one's pretty gorgeous too, because like you're up north in the middle of the woods, and you know you can just tell it's an old forest, and somebody's cut a disc golf course through it. You know, like 30 years ago or however long ago it was. You know,
nice.
You know, just it's interesting. A lot of like uneven footing, just like little like roots and mounds, and you know there's a lot of moss growing everywhere. So the putting is challenging. It's not the longest course, but you know with the trees and the uneven footing, it makes for an interesting time on the putting green. Yeah,
one of these days I'll have to get there. There's again so many damn courses in Wisconsin that take a lifetime to play every single one.
Oh yeah.
But also the names I get confused, like Sandy Point, Silver Fox,
Silver Creek.
I'm like, God damn it!
We need to maybe change some of the names.
Stony something or something. Or
there's Silver Creek and then there's Stony Creek.
Yes. But anyways, I digress. Back to your favorite faves. What is your favorite food?
Well, I mean, after a round of disc golf, I mean, me and my buddy, we kind of have a tradition where we try and hit up the nearest Mexican restaurant. You know, probably get a fat burrito or some fajitas or something like that.
Nice.
But I don't know. I like a lot of food. I'm not too picky. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I like Mexican. I like a nice steak. I'm a sucker for like a rotisserie chicken. I don't know. I like to cook too. Fish. I don't really like shellfish though. It's kind of a texture thing. But yeah, I don't know. I like a lot of different types of food. Mushrooms.
Really?
Again, it's a texture thing.
Yeah, I guess.
I like fish, but I don't like shrimp because of the texture.
Yeah, I can see that. Same.
So, yeah, that's a much easier question. I don't like mushroom, don't like shellfish.
Okay. What is your favorite beverage?
Lately I've been drinking a lot of just water, but like, I either put like, one of those Propel packets in there, or I like adding just like a squirt of lemon and a squirt of lime juice. But yeah, it's important to drink a lot of water.
It is very important, especially when you play an exhausting round of disc golf.
Oh yeah. But yeah, no, I'd like to drink alcohol too. Had a couple old fashions the other day, very Wisconsin of me.
I was gonna say, of course, an old fashioned.
Yeah, I don't know. I like, hitting up a, craft brewery too. Yeah, the other day, like went with some coworkers and I like sampled pretty much every beer on the menu before deciding on one.
Pretty drunk by then.
Yeah. No, I felt bad, but we did leave the bartender a nice tip. So
There you go. There you go.
Don't really drink soda though. Kind of quit that several years ago.
Yeah.
I used to drink like 3 Mountain Dews a day.
Okay, that's definitely not good for you.
Yeah. When you quit drinking soda and you lose 5 pounds in 1 week, that's a sign.
Yeah. No, I remember as a kid, I used to drink a lot of Mountain Dew. I was like, boy, that was not good for me.
I mean, if it's true that, stuff like that stunts your growth, like,
Okay.
wonder how tall I could have been.
I mean, you're not that short, but
only 5'6", so.
Okay, well, you'll never know.
Nope.
The next section that I have for you is, if you had to pick 3 discs to play for the rest of your life on any course, what would they be and why?
So, yeah, I've listened to this podcast enough. I already knew this was coming. So.
Yes. Can't surprise you, at least with the questions that you know.
No. So, yeah, I already had the answers in mind. I have the most experience with, like, trilogy discs, so it would pretty trilogy 3-pack. And actually, I think this happened once, and I shot pretty well. I didn't have any discs with me, and my buddy messaged me. They were going out to play around, and I was like, yeah, I'll play, but you got to give me some discs to use. So he gave me a Warden dynamic discs, and then an EMAC Truth and an Escape. So that's what I would use. Because the Warden's flat and not too deep, so I can pop it. I can throw it if I get in a weird situation where I would need to forehand it. I could do that, and then the other 2 discs are also versatile. Like I could forehand, backhand either one of them. They're not just overstable, or not really understable either. They're just kind of neutral. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what I would go with.
Righto. Yeah, the EMAX Truth used to be my jam for a while, actually. That was my go-to disc.
Yeah, that's probably the oldest in my bag. I bought one after less than a year of playing, and been throwing it ever since. Ironically, it's not super beat in yet. Can't really notice too much of a flight difference between that and the newer ones that I have. It just holds flat for another second, compared to the ones that I haven't thrown very much.
Yeah, I've used the one that I have a lot, and actually started to notice that it was starting to become understable. Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah, it could be.
So. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I gotta throw mine at some more trees,
which is pretty easy to do.
Oh yeah.
The next section I have is Dream Date. If you had to pick a pro disc golfer to play around with and hang out in general, to be and why?
I knew this was coming, but I still don't have a good answer. I don't know. There's a lot of good pros out there. Was fortunate enough to meet a good amount of touring pros. Went and spectated Vegas this year.
Oh, nice.
At least on the final day.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing pictures of that.
The wife was nice enough to let me, with me, and do that on our honeymoon in Vegas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. Let's so. I mean, there's so many pros out there that have great personalities that seem like people that I would like to just hang out with. I like watching, those skins matches, and just seeing all the, hearing all the talk. Calvin Himes, probably one of the best trash talkers, because he's just so high and sarcastic. sometimes it takes a second to pick up on that. You know, I don't know. Nate Sexton would be another good one. I don't know. Ricky would be cool because he's goofy, and you know, it would be fun to just like play with him. You know, watch him play up close and personal. But you know, I suppose I have seen him up close and personal too. But I wasn't on the card when the come. So,
but you have to like one.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just trying to figure that out. I don't know. Does it have to be a disc golfer?
Anything related to golf?
No, I was just thinking of like a different celebrity.
Okay, who would that be?
Person. I don't know. I'd like to play a round of disc golf with Aaron Rodgers. That'd be cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Does he play disc golf?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting to see him throw a disc.
So I've heard a lot of people say, like, you know, on Reddit or like on other podcasts or whatever, that you know, state it like as a fact that he does play disc golf. But I've never seen any actual proof of that. Like, even Googled it or like searched for YouTube videos, and I did find a YouTube video that was titled, you know, Aaron Rodgers throws like a 100-foot drive or something like that, but the guy didn't look like Aaron Rodgers, the football player. So I think it was just somebody else by the same, or maybe it was just clickbait. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be good, and you know, it'd be a good time because he is like a, you know, like a scratch level like ball golfer. So I mean, he would have like the mental game and like the physical capabilities for it, and you know, he's a good trash talker too. Yeah. So yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Interesting. Well, I know I'd have guessed pick somebody outside of disc golf to play around with, but cool.
I couldn't pick one disc golfer because, you know, I've been lucky enough to meet several pros, like I said, and you know, there's of them out there that, you know, seem like, you know, cool people. You know, yeah, I would, you know, like add like Katrina Allen to that list. You know, that'd be cool. You know, I watched like Owen Scoggins play in like U.S. women's, and you know, she was like I think she finished in like the top 3. I want to say, I can't remember for sure, but I mean, she was up there towards the top and like contending to the win. You know, at one point, either in like the 3rd or 4th round, and you wouldn't know it, you know. She was just out there, had a good time, like she was, you know, playing around disc golf with her friends. You wouldn't know that there was like a major title on the line, you know. She was just, you know, laughing, having a good time in between shots. Like the only time she was serious, like, was when she was actually throwing.
Nice.
And yeah, I don't know. I think that's impressive because I have a really hard time doing that.
Yeah, it's hard to. Sometimes you can take yourself a little too seriously in the game, and it's nice to have that relaxed attitude, I think.
Oh, yeah. I constantly have to remind myself, like, it's just a game. Like, this does not matter, does not have any bearing on the rest of my life. So, you know, might as well just try to have fun with it.
Yeah. So when I miss my easy 10-foot putts, I just laugh. But yeah.
Yeah, you miss a lot of those.
Facts. All facts. But yes. So we learned a lot about disc dyeing and, you know, your personal side of things. Where can people find your work if they want to see what you do and or get some discs from you?
Yeah, so we're at Donny Dyes on Instagram. Actually, it's Donny_Dyes. So it's DONNY_Dyes on Instagram, and then at Donny Dyes on Facebook. So yeah, usually people just message us through there. I don't know. We have an email too, but I don't even know if I have an address on me. But yeah, or you can reach out to us at, just donnydiesdiscs@gmail.com. Yeah, any one of those will work,
Cool beans. Well, if you haven't seen his work, please go check it out. Give him a follow and like, because he does have some amazing stuff.
Just hit 900 today.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can push it over to 1,000 or above. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So you'll be also raffling a disc, and what you see in front of you right here is the disc in question. So can you explain a little bit more about this?
This is a C-Line MD3 from Discmania. It's from one of the more recent Discmania mystery boxes. I don't know if that makes it more sought after or not, but either way, did this sweet mandala die on it. Actually didn't even know how to say mandala until we started doing these dies. Before that I was like, yeah, it's a mandala.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's right, mandala. But yeah, no, put some of my favorite colors on there. It's the teal, blue, teal, and the neon cerise pink. So yeah, it looks pretty cool when it spins too. It's one of those ones where it look cool on somebody's wall or flying through the air.
Absolutely,
especially on a sunny day.
Yeah, that would look really cool. So if you want a chance to win that amazing disc, you can head to the Dyers Guild website at dyersguild.co/raffle. That's where you can find it. And 100% of the proceeds will be going back to Don to help support his amazing hobby. So help support him and help him create some more amazing artwork. Again, go to dyersguild.co/raffle to get entered now. So this will go live where you can buy tickets when this podcast gets released, and it'll be live for 2 weeks after that. So yeah, awesome. That's a great disc. I kind of want it. Well, Don, thank you for being on here, and I'm glad you could be in person. And thanks for playing around at Sandy Knoll. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, always a great time. I missed that course.
Yeah.
It's still my most played course on UDisc, but I'll probably change that this year.
Nice. So, all right, guys. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.